Okay, welcome back to part 3 of our interview with Melody Boyd. First time ever for a 3-part interview. So, Mel, we're going to let you continue on with your story about when you left the house of Yahweh.
Okay, when I made the decision to finally to leave, understand this: the decision was not made to leave. The decision was made to move off the 44 because at first, because I felt like I was living in a fishbowl. That I was the fish everybody's looking at. You know how you sit there
Right.
and look at the fish. Yeah, felt like I was the fish. So I decided that was not how it's going to be. So uh, went to town, found a house to move into in Abilene. I started packing up my stuff, but I would pack my car. I drove an SUV, so that you could pack a lot of stuff in an SUV at that time. I packed my car at night, and this went on for like days, probably weeks. And then one night, one of the patrol noticed I was loading stuff in my car, so he sent the counselors over, and they came over. And anyway, basically, I kind of got chewed out. Why was I leaving the house? I needed to do this, I did that. And I was trying to tell him I wasn't leaving the house. I was just moving off the 44 because I wanted a little privacy because I wasn't getting any.
Right.
I mean, anything I did was getting reported to somebody.
Right.
If I turned my TV on to watch the news, they said I was watching things I shouldn't have been watching on TV. Well, how do you know unless you're looking at my window?
Right.
I didn't even know I turned my TV on.
Right.
So I basically just kept on and I moved. And then I got a phone call. I got called into them. I got chewed up and down about leaving and all this kind of stuff. And by the time they got done, and my son and my nephew came to take my stuff off the 44. I had guards watching us as we took things off. I had counselors trying to talk me out of it. And by the time they were done, I made the decision to never come back. Although I did come back once. We got all moved out. I got everything moved out, and then it was the Day of Atonement. So I did go to services on the Day of Atonement. I still hadn't quite given up the religion part of it, even though I was tired of the bureaucracy and the bullcrap.
Right.
And I didn't even get to enjoy the Day of Atonement sermon because I spent the whole time being pulled from one counselor to another. Because if one couldn't talk me out of it, they'll call in another. And they pulled the big guns,
Wait,
which
wait.
are the
I have a quick question. I'm sorry to interrupt you, Melody. When you say that that they were trying to talk you out of it, were they just trying to talk you out of moving off of the 44 acres, or were they at this point had you kind of made it clear you weren't coming back and you were leaving the house of Yahweh altogether?
well, but the whole thing was I didn't ask permission. I think that's one of the things Ariel wanted me to stress is because I didn't ask permission to move.
Okay.
Now
Yeah.
I
Okay.
told them if I
Now,
was
keep in mind, she says she did not ask for permission. I'm going to ask one question, Melody. Were you and your husband divorced?
no,
Okay.
we weren't living together, but no, we weren't divorced. So that's who I should have technically asked permission to. But
Right.
they wouldn't let him on to come help me move. He wanted to come help move some stuff, and they wouldn't let him on.
Right, because he had already left the house of Yahweh or been evicted.
He
Yeah,
had been evicted.
Right.
and when I needed somebody to do the heavy stuff, because I couldn't move a refrigerator, I couldn't move a chair. So
Right.
when they came on to help me do it, that's when all the guards were around, all that, and they told me anybody could come. So my son, who they tried to not let on, but then was told by his one of the elders who knew him, he was never a baptized member of the house,
Mm.
so they could not hold him not coming on the 44
Two
because he was.
things. Pause. Two things. I'm so glad we did a third part. The dwelling that you were living in, Melody, you paid for, you had built, that was your money, that was ownership of your dwelling that you were moving out of, correct?
Yes.
One. Two, your son was never baptized?
No, he never was. When he asked to be, his dad gave him a thing. Not you kind of like the elders give you those baptismal forms to fill out. Well, see, this is what I think is funny. When I got baptized, you walked in, said I want to be baptized. They said okay.
That's
Same
how
with
I was
us.
baptized.
They asked you two or three questions, and then by the time I left, you were getting this 50-page questionnaire thing you had to fill out. I don't know if it's 50, but it was thick and it was
It
a
was
lot of
Lord.
questions.
ridiculous, right?
Yeah. And so anyway, because I actually asked for one of those one time or another, but and they wouldn't give it to me. I thought that was funny. They said it wasn't necessary since I wasn't seeking baptism.
Mm.
So anyway, uh, back to the fact that I say my son, and then my nephew had never even been on the fort. Well, I take that back. He had been because he worked for some company, and he had actually that puts in sprinkler systems and stuff. And he
Oh,
had
okay.
actually come on the 44 and done a couple of places. He helped do the sanctuary, and he did several places outside. Several people in the houses at homes outside to put their sprinkler system in because they all knew him when he walked on the 44.
Okay.
And then the other young man that came with us, also a nephew by marriage, he sold mobile phones and stuff, so they knew him too. He had done some of the mobile phone systems for the house. But anyway, they came in and we were moving everything off, but they were like walking around going, "Does that belong to you? Does that belong to you?" And I'm like going, I wouldn't be taking it if it didn't.
Wait,
You know,
this was in your house?
no, outside when they were
Oh,
loading things up in the trucks.
okay. That's a
Uh,
little more understandable. I'm like, how would it not belong to you if it was in your
But
house?
the
Okay,
stuff was
outside.
coming outside of her house. They were
all from my
bringing the
house
stuff
out.
outside of her
You also
house.
have to remember, but you also have to remember at one time, Royce did a lot of business for the house. So
Okay.
my front patio area, remember I told y'all it was set up for the water purification system that they sold people. So
Okay.
some of the things they asked about was understandable because
Okay.
he did the propane, he did the mowing, he did a little bit of everything. So
Okay,
anyway,
so that some of those questions were legitimate questions that
that,
did
that,
need to be asked. Okay. That's
that they
fair.
well not that needed to be asked, but they had the right to ask.
Right, right.
But anyway, they were moving everything off, and like I say, I got called in on Day of Atonement. I got called in. I got to talk to everybody, and basically, now this is one thing I found very encouraging. When I first was moving out and was in the house, Yeshua actually came to my house to try to talk me out of leaving. Okay, when I was caught doing the moving, because I still had a couple more days of moving after they caught me.
Right.
Um, he actually came to my back door, knocked on my door, and came in and tried to talk me out of moving off the 44. I told him, I said, no, I've made my mind. I made up my mind. I'm an adult. I'll move it off these grounds. And
Right.
then at Day of Atonement, when he was surprised that I came back for Day of Atonement, he started, he had everybody he knew that I had a little bit of a friendship with, he had come in and talking to me. But all they did is made my decision from just moving off the 44 to live off the 44 to leaving the house during that day.
Right.
That's when the final decision in my mind settled.
So
I
basically they pushed you out.
basically because they pushed me out. Because before the Day of Atonement, all this stuff started. When they first started stripping me of positions and stuff, they even took the keys to the different rooms that
Mm,
I as
So
each
I'm going to pause you for a moment, Mel. I'm going to pause you for a moment. Because what a lot of people don't know, and they need to know, because they need to know all that you did for free, never charged anything, and you bought a lot of it. She had what you would consider a single wide trailer. Whether she bought it or not, it was her suggestion. Melody went in and set up the different rooms for the different scenarios of things that would take place, whether it be for simple basic check-in, to the waiting room, to ear flushes, to whatever. She organized, inventoried, and handled all these processes. I know this for a fact. Why? Because my mother helped you do these things.
She was good with paperwork. I wasn't.
And your dwelling set like this, and the medical dwelling, when I left, it could have changed, was right here.
The only thing that changed was I don't know if y'all remember the lady that did all the different system checks and things to see what's going on with your body and raindrop therapy and all that kind of stuff. Well, then she moved another small trailer next to mine, so we had a U shape. It was my house, the first aid station, and then her alternative medicine station.
okay.
Because I actually learned to do a lot of that stuff because I love doing raindrop therapy.
Hmm.
So I just wanted to add that part, but go ahead with your story, Mel.
Basic anything comes. The last day we moved our stuff off. Once I left the 44, they would not let me go back on. They only let my son and them go in and take the things out of the house.
Wow.
They wouldn't let me even go on. And the funny part of it is during all the things there was some. I hate to say cheating would be the better word. Well, years rule, the only way he would let them finish getting my stuff off is if I signed the house over to him. Okay, so and it was done. I later received there was a court situation that went on, and after that court situation was over, I was informed that paper was not legal, that the house was still legally mine. And I don't know if that has changed or not. Since I haven't paid taxes on it, that may have changed by now, because I don't care what they do with it. I don't want it. I don't want anything to do with it. But for a while there, they couldn't move anybody in. It could nothing be done because legally it was still mine. Now, I don't know where that stands today, because, if you don't pay taxes for so many days, somebody can come in, so many years, somebody can come in and pay taxes. And that could legally have been done, because it's been more than 7 years since I left.
Wow.
So it probably belongs to them now, but I know they couldn't do anything with it for quite a while.
And I'm just going to add here that if anybody else hasn't put this together, that when we were talking about them questioning some of the belongings and stuff, Melody stopped us and said, no, they had a legitimate right to do that. That says something about her honesty and the type of person she is. And yet they would not allow you to come back on that property to finish getting your belongings, even though, just you in this interview have shown your integrity. And yet your integrity was being questioned at that point, which I'm sure is part of the reason that you felt that you didn't want to be there anymore. After everything you had done, after everything you had given of yourself and your knowledge and your education and just all of that, and then you were treated in such a distrustful way, is so disrespectful and so hurtful.
Yeah, and a lot of it also was not so much that, except the fact that, like when I was being stripped of the different positions, the people being put in the positions were not qualified for the positions. But yet they would rather have somebody who carries a title, because she happens to be married to somebody who carries a title, to have control of the situation, and they don't even know what they're doing.
Right.
There was, don't get me wrong there, because in the midwifery situation, the person they chose to go over technically wasn't qualified, but she had more knowledge than a lot of people did for the positions. Because I'll tell you straight up, when it all happened, I was very angry with her, very, very angry with her. But she knew what she was doing in the position. She just wasn't qualified for the position. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think that makes sense. Absolutely.
And we've since talked about it, since she has also since left the house. And I respect her very well, and I still love her very much. Excuse me.
That's okay.
I mean, my pet, they're chewing on my hand.
They want to be on camera.
Believe me, if I'd let them, they all would, because here comes one right now.
Melody, share with us 2 of your most positive memories from the time that you were in the house.
Okay, this is not a memory, but the most positive thing from the house are the people I met there.
We love that. That's just the overall theme for the answer for that question. But we love it every time we hear it. We smile again,
because there's still people that from out there that I'm still friends with, and that's a 20-year friendship,
Yep.
But 2 most positive, I would say one of the very first, and I don't want to embarrass anybody with this, but I won't be naming any names, but it's technically not a memory so much as an ideal of the way the house should be, not the way it is.
Okay.
There was a gentleman who had made elder. This particular day he had made elder. And then there was an older gentleman who had a lot of medical problems. Well, something had happened in the men's bathroom, so I wasn't allowed to go in there. So, and because the person that we're talking about has a medical degree, we asked him to go in and check on him. Well, he went in there, he helped him, he did everything that needed to be done, and he didn't hesitate. So the comment I made to him is, I can't remember the scripture now, but the least of us shall be exalted. He would. I'm sorry, but Cleo was just being a pain in the butt. He went in and did something that would take him, if he were at the hospital where he works, he would have never done. You understand what I'm saying? He
Yeah.
would have sent in an orderly to do it. And he went
Gotcha.
in and did it. And I think that gave me a lot of respect for him. And then I'm trying to think of another one. Well, I have a lot. I mean, I was there 18 years.
Right.
And there's a lot of them. Oh, let's see.
So, um, actually, that was. I'm going to switch over here. Unless you think, could you have another one right now you want to share?
No, I don't. I just
Okay.
just that one where the elder actually did the job of an elder, and
That's I like that story. That's a good story. It says a lot. I don't know who this person is, but it says a lot
I think
about
I
their
do.
character.
Yes.
when in this, I'll tell you who it was.
Okay. um, Mel, and I know you've kind of already said this. You've kind of already answered this, and you've said it at least once, maybe hinted to it twice during this interview. But I just want to reiterate it, and so I'm going to ask it again, just so that you can speak specifically on this. Can you, what are your thoughts or your comments about the House of Yahweh discouraging people from seeking outside medical attention?
It's pretty strong actually. When I was out there, I used to fight for people to go. There, to give you an idea of a situation of where I did go over the heads and I could have gotten in a lot of trouble, but the only thing that kept me from getting in trouble is the Kahan that was present at the time agreed with me. If it had been one that didn't agree with me,
Right.
this may have been before, this may have been after both of y'all's time, but there was a situation that occurred where a truck pulled onto the 44, went to do something, went to back up, and they ran over somebody because it was so dark because the lights went on, and they bumped into this person. She's fine. Nobody was killed or anything, but she was hurt pretty badly.
Right.
And the minute I assessed, they came and got me at my house. They said, we need you to come with us. And I looked down, I did an assessment, and I didn't hesitate to call 911.
Right.
The only thing that kept me from getting in trouble was that the Kahan that was standing there agreed with me.
Mm.
Because it was not a decision I had the right to make. Even though I was technically head of that department,
Right.
I did not have the right to make that decision. It's supposed to be made by one of the elders.
Okay.
Well, again, what qualified them to be the one to make that decision?
I was just
Anyway.
gonna say, Melody, you know, what could you kind of expound on why you were not authorized to make that decision?
Um, Anything that occurs on the main property of the house. This had nothing to do with my medical director being anything over anything. This has to do with in general. Anything that occurs on any property that belongs to the house, it is a Kahan who has the authority to make the decision on how to handle it.
And that means a medical decision, even if that Kohan does not have a medical degree, for example.
Well, what he would do, he would call Yisrael, who doesn't have a medical degree either. But,
Right. Thanks for pointing that out.
But basically, it was a situation where the Khan who happened to be because there were a bunch of Khans that lived on that area,
Right.
and he just happened to be one that agreed that this was a medical situation enough that we needed help. It was not something somebody inside the house could handle.
Right.
If some of the doctors that were in there had been in Abilene at that time, they probably would have overridden me and called them instead of calling 911. But they were all not, because they were still in the house at this time, but they weren't. They were at their homes, which none of them lived in Abilene.
Right. Right. So they were all out of towners.
They were actually all out of staters.
There you go.
And so that anyway, this whole situation get through. They came, the ambulance came and all that. But then that Sabbath, which was a couple of days later, I did get the treatment that I get anytime I make a decision that I wasn't agreed with. I got pulled in. This time I got pulled into Yisrael's office. He disciplined me, if that's what you want to call it. But in the end, he finally agreed I made the right decision. So in that situation, because that was a situation that the woman could have died if not handled correctly.
Right.
Right.
And it was handled correctly. But the thing with telling people that are out there, there are people around who will help them.
That leads to the very last question. What would you like to say to anybody that is in the house of Yahweh right now?
Basically, that help is available. I know when I left, I was blessed. I had family I could call because I am from the Abilene area. I have family I can call. I know that I have a very dear friend that left shortly after I did. And I had since then met a local pastor, and I called him and got his permission to give them his number, and then he helped them move off the 44. They actually lived on the 55, but he helped them move. But there's always help out there, and if in doubt, call somebody you know that's left.
Yes.
There's somebody that's out there that's going to be willing to help you. And as far as back to the medical thing, don't hesitate to see a physician. This is going to sound horrible, but they teach you in the house that if you seek a physician's help, it's because you're not putting your faith in Yahweh. Well, a lot of Christians in the world, are they not putting their faith in God if they go to the doctor?
Right.
Their pastors aren't going to tell them that.
So here's another question I ask people, and let me see if you agree, Mel. Did not our Heavenly Father give the knowledge to these people to be physicians to take care of his children?
That's how I agree, and that's why I keep thinking. Anything that's going on in the world, and I don't mean anything because there are bad things, but medical advancements, and sometimes, they are going above and beyond what should be, and they are playing gods. I won't doubt that. That's one of the things that Yeshua said to me. They're just playing gods. Well, who's he playing? Sorry, should I not have said that?
Oh, no, I like it.
I'm cheering right now. I'm cheering.
But, I mean, towards the end, he was comparing himself to the Messiah. And the elders and servants made comments about that he's equal with Yahweh. Who is he? He's a man.
Right.
And believe me, he is not a man without sin.
Right.
He used to be a cop. Uh-oh.
No, you could say that. That's public knowledge. Anybody can Google that information.
I love you, Melody. I love you. I love you for saying that. And I just want to point out the pastor that you're speaking about in Abilene. Not only did he give monetarily help, he also grabbed a crew and trucks to help your friend move from her property. Correct?
And then when the friend tried and her husband raised the money, the cash money to pay him back, they refused it.
Wow.
They were told, no, you need that so you can move on.
So, Melody, is this the same pastor that you said you were going to give me the name of? And do you think he would be okay if you shared his name and maybe even the name of his organization on this episode so that anybody there could reach out to him potentially?
How about I just give the name of the organization and they can look it up?
Okay. If you think he would be comfortable with that, that would be good.
I think it would be okay if I just gave it, but I don't want to do it without asking.
That's fair. That's a fair statement.
Okay.
I like that.
I wouldn't even give you his number without asking to give permission for his number. So,
right.
But I would say the name of the church in Abilene, it used to be Caps Baptist, and it's now called Mosaic Church of Abilene.
Okay.
And they are a wonderful organization, and they will help I won't say just about everybody, they would help everybody who called. I met Jay through him wanting somebody to talk to that's from the house, and because he wanted to get a hold of a literature from the house.
Mm.
And his friend was my sister's friend, so they gave him my number, or he gave me their number. Let me try that. They gave me his number. We'll get it straight in a minute. And gave me the option to call him, and I did. And I spent hours talking with that man.
Wow.
He is one of the most soothing and relaxing people you'll ever want to talk to. He's real down to earth, a little bit on the crazy side, but that's okay. Funny crazy, not bad crazy.
Yeah.
And he helped me to leave. And I helped him to write his doctoral thesis.
Oh.
We will make sure that we put the name of the church, and by the time this airs, the name of the church and his name, if he gives Melody permission,
right,
and the title of this, so that is out there for anybody who may be seeking help. Also, let me add on here right now, as you are watching this, because it is connected to our Facebook page, as you may be watching this and you say, I need help, but I don't think I can call him, I am going to say, without even asking these two ladies, all you have to do is put a heart and send it to any of the three of us, and we will be in touch with the three of us and get you help and get you out.
You might want to do something with that to make it a specific colored heart, because you know a lot of the different things about breast cancer awareness and all that, it's a pink heart, and there's a lot of them that go out, you put a red heart. And the only reason I'm saying that is so they don't see a red heart and think it's some of the other groups. That makes sense.
How about purple?
We do purple?
That works. And that way I'll know if I see a purple one to automatically contact you two.
Yes. And just send us a purple heart. Even if you've never met us before and you've only heard our names, or you've never heard our names and this is the first time, send a purple heart to any of us or to anybody in any of the videos. I can say that assuredly too. We are all willing to reach out and help. No questions asked, no judgment.
And
Absolutely.
it's whether you've been there for one day or from day one of the organization starting.
Yes.
Yes.
There's help out there, and there's people, because there are still people out there who are part of the original group.
Right. Absolutely.
Right now I can think of one, but I think there's more than that. But there are people from the beginning. So whether it's from day one, it's your first day there, or you've been there since day one of the beginning, there's people that'll help. Don't hesitate to contact, because we know what you're going through.
Okay, well, I am so glad we made this a 3-part, because there was so much more information, and it's all such valuable information that I'm absolutely 100% in agreement, Autumn. That was a good call. We needed a 3-part for this for sure. So, and Melody, thank you so much for joining us and for not only sharing your story, your personal story, but also your insight as far as your medical knowledge and education, and sharing those thoughts and opinions with us, because I think that's going to mean a lot to anybody who might still be in there and maybe even thinking that they have something that needs to be looked at, and they value your opinion because they knew you, and that might make a difference for somebody. That might save a life, and you don't even know that, but it could save a life. And for that, we're so glad that you reached out to us about doing this, and we're so glad that you came on the show. Autumn, thank you so much for co-hosting. As always, you asked some really good off-script questions, as you always do, but we love those, and sometimes those lead in directions that we don't expect, but they are good directions. And for anybody out there watching, we want to thank you for liking, sharing, and subscribing to our YouTube channel, liking, sharing, and subscribing to our Facebook page as well, where you can join us, and we will give you information on upcoming episodes. And you can just reach out and get some support there as well. So, Autumn, did you want to say, you kind of looked like you wanted to say something in closing. Do you want to say something else? Go ahead.
I do. Melody, thank you. Thank
You're
you
welcome.
for stepping out on faith. Thank you for trusting us. Thank you for doing this interview. This interview will reach more people than you realize, and you've actually given me a bit of peace, and I appreciate you for it, Melody. I'm very thankful for you. And please, to those that are watching, don't forget to give her love, because what you guys don't realize is these people that we're talking to really do have to step out on faith to tell their truths. And we are ever so thankful for you, Melody. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank y'all for letting me come, and y'all take care of yourself.
Thank you, hon. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.